Hello again. In this video, we are going to cover a simple method for transient modeling at the site scale. I'll start by saying that normally, a transient simulation involves building two groundwater models. One, a starting condition model, which represents groundwater conditions before your planned project, for example prior to dewatering. And two, a transient model, which forecasts groundwater conditions after introducing your project's stress, for example, during or after dewatering. Most groundwater simulators, like ModFlow or FeeFlow, require creating these as separate models. Anaqsim, however, provides an option to skip the starting condition model for most site-scale projects. This tutorial shows you how to set up and run a transient simulation by skipping the starting conditions using Anaqsim's Simplified Starting Conditions option. This option is ideal for site-scale projects with limited data because it allows you to create and test different scenarios in less than half the time. So why use simplified starting conditions? Simplified starting conditions allow you to quickly simulate how site-specific stresses, such as pumping, construction dewatering, or infiltration, affect groundwater conditions over time, even when the broader groundwater system is poorly understood. Use this method when your groundwater data is limited to your site footprint. The local groundwater gradient is flat or relatively flat, and when your objective is to understand the localized effects of a site-specific stress. This approach is commonly used for construction dewatering, highway drainage systems, remediation or mitigation at contaminated sites, and early-stage proposals and feasibility studies. Now let's go through the process step by step. Step 1. Switch to transient mode. First, let's open the site-scale model from your previous tutorial and then save a copy for this exercise. Go to File, Save As, and then save a copy with a unique file name such as Simple Transient. Next, we'll set Anaqsim to transient mode. Go to Model Input, General. In the input table, uncheck the box labeled Steady. Now Anaqsim is in transient mode. Step 2. Specify simplified starting conditions. First, navigate to Model Input, Solutions, Solve Settings. Now set starting head source to constant from the drop-down menu. By setting this input to constant, you are instructing Anaqsim to use average groundwater levels you previously set in your model domains as the starting condition instead of an initial conditions model. As I noted earlier, using this simplified starting condition works well with zero gradient and low gradient initial conditions, which we often have on site-scale problems. If our initial conditions are not so simple, then you will have to create an initial condition model to capture that complexity. We'll cover that in the next tutorial. Step 3. Define your simulation schedule. In this step, you instruct Anaqsim on your transient simulation details. First, go to Model Input, Time Steps. Then input the following parameters. Period length. This is the simulation duration. Enter 21 days. Steps in period. This is how many calculation steps you want. Enter 10 steps. Step multiplier. This adjusts the step spacing. Enter 1.5. With these inputs, Anaqsim will calculate groundwater heads and flows 10 times over 21 days at increasingly longer intervals as the simulation progresses. This will be easy to see when we plot the results. Step 4. Solve and explore results. Now let's run your transient simulation. Click Solve. You'll notice Anaqsim computes groundwater heads and flows at each step in the run log. Once the simulation is complete, you can visualize your results. Go to Make Plot, all selected features, choose Level Time. Select different time steps and model levels to observe how your applied stress influences groundwater conditions over time. I'll note that in the early time steps, you might notice weird contours forming. This happens when the groundwater is flat or nearly flat, and the contouring routine in Anaqsim is looking for common points, which can approach the precision limits of the computer's calculations. You can get rid of these visual anomalies by changing the contour settings by going to Plot Input, Contour Settings. You've now successfully run a transient groundwater simulation using simplified starting conditions for your site-scale model in Anaqsim. In our next video, we'll work through creating a more conventional transient simulation involving both initial condition and transient condition models.